Welcome everyone. We're live. I always want to check that we actually are live. Let me do that and let me share the links directly in our meetup. For those of you who joined and are not familiar with what this really is, because you might have jumped into my YouTube channel or Twitch, or you might have just found us. This is a normally in-person physical meetup in Vienna, Austria, that now is going virtual, and we are having a online virtual meetup with you guys today. So let me just post the links. So the ones that didn't read the program fully knows that we are live. We are live. You might have seen the link, and if you just jumped into one of the streams, just for information, we are both on Twitch and YouTube. So if you have a preferred platform, feel free to join where you want. I'm gonna share my screen. And I have a co-organizer with me. I think he's ready. Hello, Vlad. Are you there?
Hi, everybody.
So, some context. So this is the freeCodeCamp meetup, but we are the local freeCodeCamp Vienna group that I started. I think it might even be, 4.5 years ago now, when I was a student, and I work as a developer since the last 3.5 years, maybe. And that was mainly thanks to learning via freeCodeCamp. We can talk a bit about that today. The company I work at now, they sponsor my time on the meetup. They also sponsor the tool that we use to do the streaming. So a big thanks to them. They are hiring. If you are in or around Vienna, feel free to have a look. A great company to work for front-end developers, back-end developers, project managers. We need everything. So have a look and see if there's something that fits you. Vlad will be talking today about Apex, in short. I think he'll show us some magic in real life, or almost in real virtual life. Then I will attempt to at least go through a tiny bit of the freeCodeCamp curriculum. We've done it in the past in our physical meetups, but now since we are anyway sharing the screen, I thought we could at least code a couple of exercises to get together. And if you are interested, you can also give some pointers as to what you would like to see. Hello, Kiknag. I think that's George. I can't remember the name now. Georgie. Please correct me. Really nice to see you again. Joining on Twitch. Cool. And feel free to join in the chat. We have a good way of highlighting questions and comments in the stream. So we will try to be as interactive as possible. My company and me also organize other meetups. One is Vue.js Vienna, one is Vienna Golang meetup. George, yeah, nice to see you. And those will also be happening virtual. Both of them have been virtual already, and on my YouTube channel, you'll be able to see the recordings. A quick note to that, I wanted to have YouTube channels for each of the meetups, and I do, but YouTube apparently restricts me to only verify 2 channels with the same phone number. So I haven't gotten to that yet. So sorry for the confusion, but we are integrated with Robert Axelson's channels, so we know we can reach you all. Yeah, maybe you can also add, Vlad. In general, we are always looking for help. This is the local freeCodeCamp group for students and also for people just interested in coding and freeCodeCamp. So if anyone would like to help us organize this, we're always looking for speakers, organizers, people that can just be there and keep a study group alive. Now in the Corona times, it could maybe even be virtual. So if you want to help us, maybe once a week or as often as you want, do a video conference and people get together and talk about code, let us know. We have a Facebook group that is not so active. We have the meetup.com, which is our main presence, and we can spread the message if you want to organize something for the local freeCodeCamp people in Vienna.
Best way to learn something is to teach it, they say. So from that point of view, feel free to present something, even if you don't feel you're mastering the topic. sometimes it will give that little extra boost so that you actually get there.
Good, very good advice there. Yes, we, as normally, we provide free pizza and drinks. Today we can only provide virtual pizza and drinks, so feel free to enjoy what you see on the screen, which is not so easy, unfortunately. That being said, we are. Let me just get this set up. So, just FYI, we are also on Twitter. I don't think I will be live tweeting much today, but oh yeah, because this is the wrong handle. But feel free to follow us there, and we'll follow you back for sure. I think that's mainly it. Other housekeeping, we haven't touched on the Corona time, so obviously now, since we're so long into this, it goes without saying that no physical events are allowed to happen in Austria. Those limits might change first in June or July, from what I've heard. So we'll keep this semester online. We'll have plan is to have monthly meetup in May and June as well, at least, and then we see. Yeah, and we hope to see many of you live again when we go back to normal. Good. Then, unless you have something to add to the intro, Vlad, then I think we give you the floor.
I mean, regarding the intro, what can I say? freeCodeCamp has been a bit of a family for me ever since I've started on my journey to learn how to code, which was a couple of years ago. And Rob and Daniel were really nice to welcome me in the group, and I think that's a big deal when you're entering a field which sometimes can be a little bit intimidating. I know a lot of programmers or would-be programmers talk a lot about this imposter syndrome. So, you know, if you're thinking about starting on that path and you're maybe dealing with that kind of feeling that maybe it's too much, or maybe it's not, you're not going to manage or anything like that, maybe join us. Even suggest events that you think would help, because I think together we can definitely learn to code, and we are in an age where this is getting so important that even if you're not a programmer, knowing how to deal with programmers on the one hand, and a little bit with just everything that has to do with the IT world is very helpful, no matter what your career line is. Yeah, so that's basically, come to freeCodeCamp. We're a really nice group. Join us, and we'll be happy to have you as a member and grow together. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I think I'll stop there, and I'm going to start my timer for 30 minutes, just so that I don't go too far with this presentation. Actually, can a few people maybe give some thumbs up or some okays or something if you hear us, if you hear me well, and if you see the screen, just so that we have a small confirmation that everything is going well. Cool. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is, well, there's a couple of things. Number one is this web application framework called Oracle Apex. That's on the one hand, but on the other hand, I'm going to talk to you about something more recent, which is the Oracle Cloud. Well, it's actually called the Oracle Autonomous Cloud, which they've introduced last year, if I'm not mistaken. And Oracle Apex works on top of the Oracle Autonomous Cloud for free. And that's a pretty big deal, if you ask me. Small disclaimer, I'm not in any way related to Oracle. I am, however, at work using Oracle free. I'm not paying anything, any kind of license, in order to create an application, production-grade application for business intelligence. And since I've been doing that, I've become quite enthusiastic about Oracle Apex and its capabilities. And yeah, that's why I've actually decided that I'm going to hold the talk on this. The other thing that has recently happened actually is that I've started a project on my own, so outside of the company that I work for, where I'm creating an Oracle application or an Oracle Apex application as a freelancer, if you will. So I guess it's my first gig as a programmer. So yeah, there's that. And one of the things that Oracle Apex is very good at is fast prototyping. Now, I know that one can do fast prototyping in other frameworks. I was just talking to Rob before we started. I was asking him how long would it take to have a hello world in Vue, for example. Vue being another framework, a JavaScript framework. And yeah, I mean, he said a few hours. Sorry, not the hello world. The hello world will take a few minutes, but the landing page, like a one-pager landing page, let's say your own personal page where you present some kind of service, or it's just your contact page online, your business card online. I asked him how long would it take to do something like this, and I showed him mine, which I'm going to show you later as well, and he said maybe a few hours, maybe 3 hours. And it's interesting because that's about how long it took me to create mine. Which means that indeed Oracle Apex is on par with the latest frameworks. So I think, and I also think on top of that, it holds its own in terms of like adding elements of security, adding elements of dynamic, of being like medium agnostic or device agnostic. So it works really well on mobile without having to program anything at all. One only creates the components in the builder, which I'm showing you right now. And then all of these components are automatically available, scalable, and so on and so forth on mobile as well, which I think is a big deal. So if you want to create production-grade applications easily, Oracle Apex is definitely one way to go, because the way it's built, it offers from the get-go security, which is very important for a production-grade app in a corporation. And on top of security, it offers scalability and other elements which any company needing an application would immediately ask for. And I know that from scratch, implementing those security elements would be quite time-consuming. Cool. Let's talk a second about the other thing that I want to present. So one was the framework, and the other thing is the Oracle Autonomous Cloud, as they call it. I'm not going to talk about anything that requires payment. They have the so-called free tier. You can see it on my screen right here. I'm going to have all the links that I'm going to be showing you in a Notion page that I'm going to share in the chat. But basically, well, actually, why don't I do that right now? Let's see if that works, so that you can follow these websites as well. Let's see. How does this? Interesting. I'm looking at the chat and I'm not sure how to type in the general chat. I can type in the private chat. Maybe it's okay. Rob, can you see the link that I've just sent?
I can see the link in the private. If you click the tab for comments to the right there, further up, can you then get the window? Sorry?
It takes me to the live comments, but there I cannot add anything. I can only read it.
Wow. Okay, we have to figure that out. I'll just share this link for sure.
Yeah, that would be great. You can share it for me. Yeah. All right. So in the Oracle Autonomous Cloud, you have a free service that's being provided, and one of these free services is the ability to use Oracle Apex in order to create applications. You can have two databases because Oracle Apex requires a database. It's a data-driven application framework. You can have two databases. You can have on top of that also two virtual machines and some storage and a couple of additional load balancing and transfer limitations, but also some kind of like boosting options because yeah, Oracle has some very serious machinery in the back. Why am I talking about the Oracle cloud? Because Oracle Apex can, yes, it can run locally, but that's a pain in the ass. I'm not gonna recommend it. I'm using that at my workplace because the Oracle Autonomous Cloud didn't exist back then. And I can tell you it took a long time to set up. So what I really suggest is that you set up an account for Oracle Cloud. And on top of that, you when you do that, you can have access to the Oracle Apex. Why is the Oracle Cloud important? Number one, Oracle Apex only works with an Oracle database, so I don't think you can run that on an Amazon Web Services or some kind of as far as I know, you cannot run it on something else. But number two, and that's most important, if you set up a database and an Oracle Apex environment on the Oracle Cloud, you have upgrades, automatic backups, and all of the features that come, all of the DevOps, if this means anything to you. So everything that has to do with the whole server functionality and the whole thing working, being up, being live all the time, having alternatives in case the primary server fails and so on and so forth, all of that is provided by default. So that's not a small thing. I'm sure you know this if you've worked on a production level application. And the fact that you can do it as a developer, so, well, you don't do it, but you externalize it, you outsource it to the cloud. It's a huge deal because it means that you can literally become a one-man show. You can set up something at the cloud, you can create the application, but at the same time, you have the backup, you have the automatic updates of the whole system in the back of Oracle Apex because it's a framework that keeps updating, and you don't need to even touch it. It will upgrade automatically because that's what the autonomous cloud is about. That's what the autonomous part is about, where all the upgrades come automatically and all the backups happen and everything else. All right, so that's about it for the Oracle PR. I'm going to go here and show you what this looks like. This is the builder. I'm in the cloud, as you can see here in my address link. It's an instance on a Frankfurt server, and yeah, you can see that I have a builder, which is where the applications are made, a SQL workshop, which is where all of the data elements are handled. So everything, all the tables, all the views, all the SQL queries, and so on and so forth. Team development is basically a form of issue tracking, bug tracking, communication between developers, and so forth. And the app gallery is, well, exactly what it says. It's a list of sample applications, of also production level applications that are provided for free by Oracle Apex. One just clicks on it and installs it and has immediate access to it, including the whole setup in the background. I'm going to show that to you later if I have time. I'm going to go back and I'm going to go into the app builder. And I've just been talking way too much. Let me just show you what can be done. So I'm just going to create an application. I have an option. I can create from a file. Like I said, it's a data-driven application. So if you have a CSV or some kind of a table, a JSON, you can upload it and the application automatically uses it at the core. We're not going to do that. We can create a productivity app. This is basically setting up one of those sample applications that I've shown you before. We're not going to do that yet. I'm just going to say new application. And this is basically starting it from scratch. We're going to give it a name. I'm going to say freeCodeCamp demo app. I already did the demo because I tried it a few minutes ago. And here we can already have a few customizing features. We the appearance. They have a few standard looks. Let's take, I don't know, let's take the red one, and we have a choice of navigating as a side menu with a side menu, which shows and hides based on a button, or we can have a top menu, which usually by default shows up all the time. I'm a fan of the top menu, to be honest, for applications, so I'm going to create one like that. We can have an application icon. Let's just choose something in blue, and we're going to do this icon right here. There are way more customizing options. I'm not going to go down that road because that becomes a little bit more complex. I'm not going to look at any of the other configurations. I'm just going to go right ahead and create it. So what's going to happen is it's going to get provisioned. And we're going to have a very basic application. It's application 109, freeCodeCamp demo app. Let's run it. If we run it, we already start to see one of those features that I mentioned, which are very important for a production level application, which is a login, a user management scheme. And it immediately basically relates to this login screen, which allows you to have authentication schemes in the background, each user having access to particular parts of the application, and so on and so forth. Okay, I have a demo user. I'm going to log in with that. I'm going to actually let you log in with that too a little bit later. So we see the application. It's literally a web app. We have a menu we have a navigation bar at the top. We have a home button. We have a very simple element, and then it's blank. Let's add something to this. In order to add something to this, we're going to go to this home page, which is the one we've just seen. And we enter this kind of page designer, as it's called, which allows you on the left side to create regions, which are elements, if you think of them as paragraphs or divs in HTML. And on the right side, you have the properties for all of these elements. So let's just, under the content body, let's create a region. Let's make it a static content region. Let's make it a hello world. Let's give it the title "Hello World." Well, actually, now let's give it the title "freeCodeCamp Test," and then we're gonna have as the source the text "Hello World." And then let's run it. And as soon as we do, the application is live all the time, which is treacherous. I can tell you that I often have ideas for changes, and I immediately want to go to the production application and want to change it in production, which any self-respecting programmer will tell you is not a good idea. But in this case, we're gonna go ahead and do this so that we just see just how easy and quickly it is to see the changes and to make the changes. So we've just created a hello world little div. Now we can customize that. But let's try to do something a little bit more impressive. Let's create a new region, and let's have a different type of region. So the region we created before was a static content. We can create a calendar, for example, or we can create a chart, a form. We can create reports. Very important if you want, because it's a data-driven application, the reports are very, very powerful and very useful. Let's actually just create a report. As soon as you create a report, it will modify the source property so that it asks you for the type of source that matches that region. So in this case, we can have a table, a pre-existing table or a view. We can have a SQL query, or we can have a procedural language SQL. I'm not even going to go into that. PL SQL is like a proprietary Oracle programming language. Yeah, so we're going to try to do a SQL query. I'm going to try to generate a table out of thin air because I haven't created a table in the background. Let's see. We're going to try to do name. And we're going to try to do phone number. These are the two columns that I'm creating, and we're gonna just create them from this table called dual, which is like a fictional table. So we see here under our hello world, we've created, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, we've created a table with a column called name. Oh, actually it has a value. I didn't realize what I'm creating. I created a table with two columns, name and phone, and I've added the values, name and phone number. Now this table immediately has filters, search functionality over all the columns. So if I click on, I'm going to search for number. Immediately I get returned, well, the only row that we have, but it's the one that contains a cell which contains the name number. You have a number of actions. One can create charts out of it if it's a data containing table. I mean data, numerical data, that is. One can compute columns based on those tables, on those data cells. One can format it, can use highlighting, can choose how many rows per page to show. One can download the report. One can subscribe to it. All of this is by default from the get-go. So all you need to do is put data into the table, bring it into the front end in this way that I've shown you, and then immediately you have these basic functionalities included. That's a big deal. Again, the topic of today's talk is fast prototyping. And I can tell you with the little experience that I have that I can very quickly show a client a little bit of how something could look like, an idea that they have with this kind of application, because it is so well integrated and it has so much functionality by default. And it has a very clean design, and yeah, basically it's still very customizable, even though it has so much inbuilt functionality. Let's create something a little bit more unusual. Let's put a button here in the navigation bar for a help page. Let's say you want a help page and you want everybody to be able to access it. So we're going to create a new page right now. Let's see, we're going to create a new page. Oh, we have to save the changes first. There we go. Let's create a new empty page. It's going to be page number 2, and we're going to call it help. And I'm going to create it. I'm going to quickly create a region because I can see I'm already down to 10 minutes. I'm going to say this is a web application. Okay, I've created this region which contains my help. Now I can save it. If I run it, we're not going to be able to see it. By the way, I want to make it a modal page. You're going to see in a second what that means. It basically means that it doesn't navigate away from the page that you're looking at. It just comes as a new page on top of what you're looking at, especially for a help page. I find that very useful. So if I run it, we're not going to see anything because there's nothing associated. There's no navigational element associated. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go into the so-called share components. These are elements which are shared in the entire application. So by the entire application, all the pages have access to the components here. You can see here things like authentication schemes and access control and application items and so on and so forth. But we're going to look at the lists, more specifically at the navigation bar. And what we're going to do, we're going to see here, we have a sign out button, the application user. Let's just create a new entry. In the new entry, actually, I haven't looked at the chat at all. Has anybody been saying that they cannot hear me all this time? No, okay. Cool, so I've just created a new entry. I'm going to call this help, or let's call it info. Let's call it info, and I'm going to give it an icon. We're going to give it the info icon. I think I should probably switch to dark. Yeah, it should be more visible. I have something that darkens the whole page, makes some things look funny. Okay, so I've created the thing, and I'm going to associate it with page number 2, which is the help page. I'm going to I'm going to save it. I'm going to create it, and then I'm going to run the application. Let's see here. We're going to go to, can I do this? Yes, okay, no. Okay, so what we see now is that here next to this user sign out thing, we have a button called info. And if I click on it, we have our modal page. The modal page contains all of the elements that we've created on page number 2. If you remember, we've created this help. Let's quickly create another region, and let's make it a, I don't know, let's make it a chart. Let's be bold and make it a chart. Let's see. What kind of chart do we want? We want a bar chart. Yeah, let's keep it simple. It's going to ask us for, again, a source. I'm going to create a virtual source. So it's going to be select 100 and 200. Well, the system doesn't let you finish before you, no, let's say value and 200, and value should be a string. The system doesn't let you save and run it until you've finished all of the settings it needs. Okay, so we've created a chart, and now there it is. In the info page, we immediately see the chart we've created. It's a chart that only has one bar, and it's the value group, and it has a value of 200. Whatever, it's just because I've created it out of thin air. But you can imagine a proper bar chart with many elements, many dimensions, and so on and so forth. And many types of charts are available. Okay, I think I've spoken enough. The last thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to allow you to see how easily it is, how well this application works on mobile devices. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go to Bitly, and I'm going to put the link, which is a little unreadable. I'm going to put it under a much more elegant link, and then I'm going to send it to you all so that you can have a go with it, have some fun with it. I'm going to call it freeCodeCamp April 20 FCC APR 20. Okay, so I'm going to save it. Let's see if this is, yeah, perfect. So let's have a look at this. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to try to open it. It works. In order for you to log in, use demo as a user and 123 as a password. So I'm just going to add this to the Notion page, the Bitly page. And I'm going to also tell you, I'm going to write down the password, the user and the password. So the user is demo, and the password is 123. So what you can do now is you can open the link, and you can log in on your mobile device. So you can see here everything is, I mean, it looks the way it looks, whatever. There are not that many components, but try to open the same thing on some kind of a mobile device and see how well this immediately scales, which I think is a big feature for this fast prototyping. Good. Now, that being said, I'm going to show you some things that are a little more complex. So first, I'm going to show you my landing page, which took me a few hours to complete. So this is my personal kind of landing page, where I actually have my contact information, and I talk about the fact that I offer Oracle Apex applications for anybody who's interested. And this whole page is live online, and it's, again, very responsive on any device, any web-capable device, and it takes very little time to actually create something like this, starting from a template. And I can tell you a little bit more about the templates. I can even send you some templates, but basically this is something that's possible. I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you,
Sorry,
I'm going to tell you that
the document, that the Notion document says that we need to get access from you. Could you just share the link with me now, and I can post them to the people in the chat, and then we can check the doc later.
Actually, yeah, I was afraid that the Notion is not going to work so easily. I was hoping it would, but this is the link. And like I said, like the username is demo and password is 123. But I should have. I'm gonna have a look afterwards at making the Notion page work.
Yeah, I know it's possible. I have one that I have that I think it's semi-public at least. But yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. The other thing that's recent, very recent, and very relevant, Oracle has created very quickly in Oracle Apex an application which is called the Therapeutic Learning System, which was a response to the viral pandemic in the US, especially worldwide, generally. And it's been an incredibly successful application to the point where, I don't know if anybody knows this, probably not, but Donald Trump actually officially thanked Oracle for how quickly they were able to come up with a professional grade application to support the medical staff and so on and so forth. So that was a big success story. We as let's say non-US residents and non-patients, non-medical personnel, we don't have access to the application. I think you can find some articles on it. If you Google Oracle COVID-19 Therapeutic Learning System, you will definitely find details on how it works and how it looks. But I'm not able to show you that now. It's just a pretty big deal. Recently, it's been a pretty big deal, which has really boosted Oracle Apex in terms of like the way the respect it gets. What I will show you is an application created, which is considered one of the most beautiful applications created with Oracle Apex. It's called, I don't even know how to read it. Fabe, not sure. It stands, I think, for All Beautiful Earth. And it's basically an application that allows people to take mindful action towards protecting the planet. And if you sign in and you register for the app, you can get the app, and it works on, again, OS independent because it's a web app, right? So it doesn't matter. I'm right now running Linux Manjaro, and it works immediately. You don't have to worry that you're on Windows or on Mac OS or whatever. So I'm going to show you the application. I've installed it already. So I open it from a regular icon, and then it starts as a, why is it so slow? It starts as a, there we go. It starts as a web page, but like it looks native. It looks like it's made, like a standalone application. And I mean, if we look over here, let's see, I haven't spent a lot of time using the application, but basically one can take a look at certain categories, let's say climate change activist. And here, what do we have? We have things like meeting with, I guess, climate change officials, and you can earn points and you can register for daily reminders to do certain actions. Funnily enough, when I was looking at this before, it was showing how to save water by not flushing after number one. You should flush after number two, but not after number one. That's it's up to you, but apparently, and it makes a lot of sense, it takes up a lot of water. So a lot is possible. It takes a little bit of time to create something colorful and nice, but definitely not as much as you would think once you've gotten used to the framework. I'm gonna stop here, and I'm gonna go to Rob and say, Rob, can we take questions? I don't know. How does it work?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. It says we're in total 6 viewers. It's not always accurate, but if anyone has a question, feel free to shout out. We'll give you guys a minute.
How is the...
Maybe in the meantime, I have a question. It's more a question for the audience because I know the context, and you've given talks about, or at least I've seen one talk about Apex from you before. What is Apex and what is no code? Is maybe something to clarify for those who are very new to this tool.
I just realized that yeah, I'm gonna go to your question in a second. I just realized that I was sharing only my web browser, so the whole application that I presented at the end was not showing on the screen.
Oh,
because the application is a different window. So let me just try to... I'm gonna try to share again and share the actual application.
Yep.
Yeah, here we go. Just so that everybody sees a little bit of what I was talking about, because I was saying that it's the... Yeah. So this is what it looks like. This is the application.
We did see the first page of it though. We saw the. I even opened it up here for all beautiful earth.org. So we saw at least the starting page.
That's yeah. Okay, so to your question, I mean, I think you would be better suited to answer this question than me, but I'm gonna give my 2 cents, and I think you should fill in the blanks. So low code, as far as I understand it, is assisting a programmer or some... Well, no, wrong. Ideally, low code means allowing a non-programmer to create something that in the past, let's say, only a programmer could create. Ideally, this is the goal. In reality, what it means is that it offers tools to create basic elements without writing code. And I think I've shown this already. I only wrote a line of SQL to create that virtual table. But apart from that line of SQL, everything was generated automatically, nicely spaced, positioned, whatnot. So no code was written in order to create that during the demo. So that's the idea of low code. Write as little code as possible. Therefore, theoretically, you don't need to be a programmer, but you can still create.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. And I've heard both low code and no code. And it's more like you have sort of like a drag and drop, or like you have fields to fill in, and it's more of a maybe application that maybe super users used to, or like a lot of options, sort of like a big SAP or something like this, where it's very powerful and it takes maybe a bit to learn, but you can do programming basically without programming. And as you said, if it helps, if you can do, in this case, a SQL statement, or maybe it generates it for you, and then you don't really need to know what's going on in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are definitely like Oracle Apex holds your hand in a number of tasks. So if you don't know how to write SQL code, it has a system where you can write pseudo code, and it creates the SQL out of that, which is also helpful. Otherwise, Oracle Apex, in order to customize deeper elements, it requires JavaScript, it requires HTML, CSS, and SQL. But you could get away without the SQL to some degree, and you can still, if you want a landing page, you're not going to need SQL. You're going to create a landing page, a really beautiful one, without any SQL. But you're going to need... No, actually, if you use a pre-existing theme, let me actually share that with you, because I promised you that I would. You don't even need any CSS in JavaScript or anything like that. Let's see, how do I share right now? I need to share my browser again. Yeah, there we go. So what I'm going to try to show you, I'm going to need to find first Yeah, it's not going to be here. Um, hmm, hmm, let's see. I'm going to need a second to look into my Skype talk with a friend who sent me this. So we don't have, I'm guessing we don't have any questions. I'm having the impression.
No, nothing coming yet. No. So I think we don't need to make more room for that.
All right. What are we thinking in terms of, do we want to have a chat or how shall we
I think I
proceed?
can at least show the curriculum a little bit because we can probably get some coding done in 5 to 10 minutes. Feel free to jump in later. I'm going to remove the screen.
Yeah, go
We
for
have a
it.
program today that we talked about maybe having a cheers, by the way, to everyone that is at home with something, even if it's non-alcoholic or alcoholic or just some popcorn. Hey, trying to create some part of the social ambience. So, yes. The curriculum has changed somewhat since I started with it, but there is still some of the stuff I've done and accomplished in the past is still left here. I thought we could do with some basic, and it doesn't seem so we have so many active viewers, but if there are any active viewers and you have any preference, be it beginner, intermediate, or advanced code, feel free to shout out or send a link to a curriculum or to something you're working on, and we can have a look. But I'll just start with something really basic or in between basic. I think I found something earlier. So this is assuming that you have a tiny bit of knowledge about programming and or at least some knowledge of programming. JavaScript would help, and feel free to shout in the chat if it's too complicated. Now, I think this doesn't help because I've already done this. Let me see if I can do the one that hasn't been done. Or is it already? Okay, let's see at least. So if you're not familiar with the freeCodeCamp, the whole course is, or parts of the course at least, is this type of, you have an assignment to the left with information that you need. You write the code to the right, and then you run tests in the end, and you pass if you have accomplished the assignment. Some of the curriculum is also zip lines, meaning projects that you should fulfill, more of like making a landing page, making an app and stuff like this, where you then submit your final project as sort of like a criteria to get a certificate. So here it says, basic JavaScript, practice comparing different values. In the last two challenges, we learned about the equality operator and the strict equality operator. Let's do a quick review and practice using these operators some more. If the values being compared are not of the same value, the equality operator will perform. Let me just do this. The equality operator will perform a type conversion and then evaluate the values. However, the strict equality operator will compare both the data type and the value as is without converting one to another. So here we are supposed to, with the compare equality function, we should compare two values using the equality operator, and then we have equality operator and strict equality operator. So this is stuff I'm not so good at. I know there's this one and there's this one, but I wouldn't be able to tell you without Googling what they're called. So strict equality operator and the equality operator. Modify the function so that it returns equal only when the values are strictly equal. Okay, so strictly equal, then we have this one. So here we have something that is started. So if you run the test now, I hope it will fail. Yes, so running tests, it says that compare equality, and these are parameters, so A and B. Here it's being passed then compare equality 10 and 10, so a number. And in JavaScript, if you have the quotation marks around, it's a string. So it's going to compare if those two are the same, and they are not, because they are not both numbers or both strings. And we have the strict equality operator. 20 and 20 should return not equal, and they are apparently not. So now we need to fix this. If A equals B, so we're going to change this line, because what is probably happening now is that it's only doing the equality operator in the non-strict way. So if it's that simple, we should now be able to run the tests, and we completed. So you're learning some programming by following the instructions, and sometimes they're really simple, and sometimes later on you kind of have to learn and apply what you've learned previously, and it's quite a nice format. I learned via freeCodeCamp, but as most people, I supplemented with, for example, I think it's called Treehouse, teamtreehouse.com, a Treehouse, a video learning platform. Then later Udemy courses and stuff like this, and reading books. And then I came back to the curriculum at freeCodeCamp, and I didn't even finish it before I got my first job. Cool. Then we can have a look at maybe one more. So yeah. Okay, so this is the ternary operator, a bit more advanced, but if you already know a little bit of JavaScript and you don't know this could be a cool thing to get familiar with. It's basically a way of having a conditional statement, or like an if else statement, but you write it as a one-liner, or it can be a one-liner. So now they're showing that we have this, and the equivalent of this would be, so it can be rewritten using the conditional operator. So here we have, if A is larger than B, then do this. Otherwise, do this. So here we have, if A is larger than B, and then the first thing, so if this is true, question mark is just syntax. If this is true, then do this. Return this. Otherwise, else, return this. So you should use the conditional operator in the check equal to check if two numbers are equal or not. The function should return either equal or not equal. So I guess then I need to do A, and then as we learned earlier, it's best to do the strict, because then you can't go wrong in that it is equal when you don't want it to maybe be equal. So it's strict for us. If it is the same, then we should do so we should return, and if it's the same, then we're going to return equal, and if not, we're going to return not equal. And you might see now what's going to happen. No, we did something wrong. I have to admit that I did it on purpose, but that you can see that when if you do something and you thought it was right, you get some hints here. Should return not equal, and then you go check. No, I didn't write it with capital N. And now it's testing this with 1 and 2. So testing if 1 equals 2, then say equal, otherwise say not equal. So 1 is not equal 2, so we're expecting it to spit out not equal, and it passes. Cool. I've seen no chat messages except for, should I share the link from you, Vlad?
Yeah, so that should work now. The Notion page should work now.
Cool.
There we go. Yeah.
I don't think we have so active of an audience, but we'll give you a couple of minutes, and we can also just continue talking about this or something. Let me readjust us. Cool. But free. We have some viewers. If you felt that this was super easy to go through, or if it was too hard, which is fine, because if you're totally new to programming, this is not trivial stuff. Feel free to comment. We can do some more minutes of coding. We can also just talk, Vlad.
Yeah.
Why do you like Apex so much? Coming from your side.
Sorry, come again. I didn't.
What's your favorite thing about Apex?
I like that it's very well structured. Very well structured. So it has a small learning curve like anything else, but I remember saying this in my previous talk. I have a problem when I sit in front of a blank page where I need to write code. And I have less of a problem where I'm in an environment like the one I've just shown you, where I can like click on create page, create a region, static content, add some text, right? It's no longer this point, and it's not so much because I can't make it in code. I could now write JavaScript code to make that happen. But first of all, it would look different. It would look very basic. It would definitely not be device agnostic. It wouldn't run on mobile. It wouldn't look good or anything like that. But maybe most important of all, if I don't have to also deal with the level of code debugging, because unlike that system where I say create page, create region, and then you fill in some criteria, with code, you think you know how to do it, you write code for it, and before you even get to the point where you're customizing what you would like it to look like, you're like, oh wait, but it doesn't work. Before I can even have a look at the text and center it and maybe decide where to put it and which icon goes well with it and how to size it, I have to deal with the fact that the code is not working, and it takes me like 2 hours to fix the code, and then finally I see something, and that only then can the creative work start. And that's a big deal because I'm interested in the creative part. I'm not interested in the problem solving.
Yeah, the technical problem solving. I think, like you said, it has a learning curve. But I think compared to, for example, JavaScript, there's so much now these days. Even for beginners, I wouldn't really start with much JavaScript beyond maybe the curriculum of freeCodeCamp, so you kind of get the familiarity with the language. But I would, as possible, start with like Vue, which is my personal favorite, React or Angular, and those take a long while to become proficient at. And when you get to that point, if you do it the right way, meaning if you get a job where you get a mentor, or if you do a course where they're teaching you the right way to do it, yes, you will struggle with debugging for a while, but at some point you're in a environment where you've learned to, for example, use TypeScript. So you get a lot of you have to learn it, but then the debugging things kind of tell you what to do before you even try to see it on the screen, because in the environment that you're writing, it like gives you errors, and it's like a spelling correction for you writing code, and then you have hot reloading. You will see it, automatically when you save, the change appears on the screen as in the browser as you're writing it. And if you use a framework, which is kind of like where you're talking about template and themes, if you use a framework like for Vue, there would be Vuetify is the most well-known. There's Quasar that is also optimal for mobile and stuff like this. So there are some options, but just to know that they are there and then to learn to use them, I don't think you can really compare it with low code, because I like how low code shines in the way that anyone can really get up and running with it. And you can make a prototype, and maybe, that was your app idea and you didn't have to learn code just to show your idea to the world, or even to, a prospective person that would be interested in what you wanted to create. So, yeah.
The thing why I think this prototyping function is so important is the fact that if you want, I have little experience as a freelancer, but recently I've begun working on 2 projects. One of them is like a framework for like an application for a legal company, which has all sorts of laws, like a how would you say, like a dictionary of laws related to recycling electronic waste.
Oh, yeah.
And they want a really nice front end where they can query that catalog based on some filters, and then immediately you get some answers. And I started working on that with a friend. But and the other project that I'm working on is well, I'm not working on it yet, but somebody wanted me to digitize a board game. So they have created a board game, which is called well, I'm not going to say what it's called, but it's a board game about teaching kids how to use money, and like really young kids. And because nowadays kids think that money comes from a card or from the phone. Money has no physical concept, no meaning for really young kids these days. And apparently this makes them really struggle with finances later on, like with saving money, because yeah, before that our parents used to save money under the mattress, right? Nowadays you have to put it in a different account or something.
Yeah.
Long story short, this person wanted me to, before they could decide, she said she wants to have something to show to her board members so that they together decide if they're going to work with me.
Yeah.
And like that is a super important function.
Yeah.
And I need to be able, without a ton of time, because this is not going to be paid time, right? I need to be able to give them a prototype, though, just to give them a feeling of how this could look like in my eyes, right? So that they can decide if they're going to work with me or not. And that is the crucial element. You need prototyping to gain customers, to gain the trust of people. And also, if you have something that works with such good prototyping, it means you have a very fast feedback loop, right? The customer says, I need this. And then you're like, okay, boom, done. Can you look at it?
Yeah.
And just it goes back and forth, instead of like having to code for a long time and then being like, okay, can you have a look now? Like I see it as a much quicker production line.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, cool. I think we're already at an hour mark. We can start wrapping up and some final words. I'm keeping the link up now for the ones that don't see the chat. That's the Notion document that Vlad was sharing. There are some nice links there. I can maybe
What I can really recommend is the Oracle Autonomous Cloud Setup document. It's a PDF that takes you step by step through how to create your own account, because with that you can then work on Oracle Apex like I showed you, because you need the setup. That's important. Without that, it doesn't work.
And coincidentally, I've been an employer at. I've worked at Oracle, but I didn't know how to program then. I was on the phone trying to sell Oracle to.
Oh, okay.
Way back. This is probably, where are we now? 2000. I started working there in 2007. So I'm an old dude. So that was 13 years ago. That's where I met my wife. So I have a connection to Oracle. And I also noticed now, I started reading an article about Larry Ellison, how he's been drafted to be on some sort of like Corona board because of the what they've been doing.
That's the app I was telling you about.
Yeah.
The app that I told you about, they were like super excited that Trump mentioned it, and they thanked Oracle live, like during one of his bloody speeches. No, but can I ask you something? Had you heard about Oracle Apex back then when you were working for Oracle?
I don't think it was a thing then. I'm pretty sure.
That was how many years ago?
13 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, Oracle Apex, I think, started in 2004 or 5. I hope I'm not saying something silly, but it was very basic back then.
Yeah.
What people need to also know, because I keep telling you that this is a framework where you can safely, confidently make production grade applications. What does this mean? This means that if you use this framework, because we know that using a framework is nice and well, but if the framework somehow crashes, is not updated, or in some ways not maintained, you've got a problem with your production grade application, because you're basing half of your code on something that you have no access to, right? It should be, it's like built in, and even if you would have access to it, it's very difficult. So what I'm trying to say is, it's important when you choose a framework to choose something that's really well maintained, so that you don't have any surprises in the future, like in 5 years from now.
Yeah.
There's nobody working on it or something like that.
Yeah.
And Oracle Apex is being used in Oracle worldwide as their main application development framework.
Mm-hmm.
They have over, I don't know how many thousands of applications, how should I say, business critical applications running in Oracle Apex. So there's no way that they will stop supporting Oracle Apex, because then their own applications would drop. So the fact that you have this certainty that Oracle is behind it 100%, that's no small thing.
Cool. I think I'm being invaded now, so I said we will probably run for an hour. So yeah, let's say goodbye to the audience. And thanks a lot for giving the talk, Vlad.
Yeah, my pleasure. I hope I didn't confuse everybody.
No, it was good, and it was
Fast and a lot.
example. So it's always good when you can see stuff going on live.
Yeah.
We have a comment here from. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say, if anybody has extra questions, I've included in the comments portion right at the top of the Notion page my own landing page, and there you can find me like per email, by LinkedIn, and whatnot. If you have questions, get in touch. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Cool. We have a comment from Rohleder. That sounds like a German raw leather, but I might be wrong. Rohleder. Thank you for the well done presentation, and regards from Wells. Don't know if we know him from before, but hey, thanks for your comment.
Thank you for the flowers, as they say in Austria.
Yeah. Cool. Well then, without more talk, we will thank you all for today, and feel free to join us in upcoming meetups. Let me add this to the stream. We can add a note that if you're not already in meetup.com, we have a meetup group. Feel free to join us there, and then you will be notified about the next upcoming meetups. I think the next we have planned is for the 19th of May. Yes, and feel free to reach out to me also if you have any questions or any follow-up to the presentation or to the meetup today. And it was very nice to be able to present to you all tonight. So, yes, then, ciao. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. Have a nice weekend. Well, soon.